Hello, and thanks for joining us for another episode of The Director's Cut, brought to you by the Directors Guild of America, where each episode we bring you a fresh and insightful interview featuring one of the film industry's top directors, conducted by one of their peers. You can subscribe to our podcast on Google Play Music, iTunes, Stitcher, or on our SoundCloud page at soundcloud.com/The Director's Cut. And if you're enjoying The Director's Cut, please take a moment to like, share, or comment. We love hearing your feedback. This episode takes us behind the scenes of director Bertrand Tavernier's new documentary, My Journey Through French Cinema. Told through portraits of key creative figures, the documentary follows Mr. Tavernier's half-century-long love affair with film that began when he was just a boy. Augmented by his voluminous knowledge on the subject, he details both the giants of his native cinema, Renoir, Godard, Melville, as well as some frequently overlooked contributors, Edmond T. Reville and Jean Sacha, in a film full of both personal and historical observations and memories. My Journey Through French Cinema was screened as part of the DGA's documentary series, which aims to spotlight groundbreaking nonfiction films for DGA members and guests by presenting screenings of documentaries as well as conversations with their directors. In addition to My Journey Through French Cinema, Mr. Tavernier's expansive filmography includes the critically acclaimed features Round Midnight, Coup de Torchon, and Capitaine Colnat, as well as the award-winning features The Clockmaker of St. Paul, Life and Nothing But, Fresh Bait, It All Starts Today, and A Sunday in the Country. After the documentary series screening of the film at the DGA Theater in Los Angeles, Mr. Tavernier spoke with director Chuck Workman about filming My Journey Through French Cinema. During their conversation, Mr. Tavernier discusses his desire to salute the directors he loved, his early career, and how, in his opinion, being a film buff stops when he actually makes a film.
Thank you. That was, I'm sure, a wonderful experience I know we just got a rave from Billy Friedkin, so that's something. Bertrand just told me that there are 8 more hours.
Yeah. I just, most of the thing I could not include in the film because there were so many directors I could not push in the film. I mean, Clouseau, Sacha Guitry, Marcel Pagnol, Jean Grémillon, some forgotten directors, the people who worked during the occupation, René Clément, Claude Autant-Lara. So I was able to do 8 more hours, which is not enough. I mean, I would have liked to have 10 or 12 because I have many people still missing.
And how will they be shown? They'll be shown on
it will be shown in October on television. In television, 8 times. They decided that it will not be called a series, that it will be called 8 films. So it will be shown, I think, from the 15th of October.
Here or in France?
No. I mean, first in France.
Yeah.
Because they finance the film.
Of course.
So they have the right to show it first. And they gave me a little bit of money to do it.
I'm sure I'm wrong, but I hope I'm not, that this is the first time Pathé and Gaumont did
this is the
together.
First time that Pathé and Gaumont,
the two biggest companies in
the two
France?
biggest companies in France, each owned by the 2 people who own them are 2 brothers, but at the first time they are doing a co-production. So my film, it was like breaking the Berlin Wall. I mean, that was something.
Well, were they happy? Or they were very
they
happy.
got
along together?
They were very happy. The people of Pathé discovered that the atmosphere was much more convivial at Gaumont. I mean, that's no, they were very happy.
And Bertrand, how do you put this together? I mean, do you compile everything? Do you make lists of everybody that you want to put in? I mean,
no, I didn't make a list. I tried to write a draft, a screenplay. Took me a long time. I was working because BBC had asked to do a film of 1 hour about the French cinema, and I could never find out. It's only when I start writing, it took me a long time. When I said, let's begin in the garden, let's beginning by something totally subjective, by my story, my point. I'm not a teacher. I'm not an historian. I'm not a film critic. I'm a director, and I know I can talk about the film from the point of view of a director who happened to have met, during his life, a lot of people, to heard many stories, to have a lot of experience. A lot of them are unknown, because people told me things. I had wonderful moments, and it's a way of making. So if it had to be very personal, very good. And when I thought about, okay, the first film I saw when I was 6, that gave me the beginning. After that, it was a nightmare. I wrote, I don't know how many drafts, and we are discovering that those films did not exist, so I had to start another. But slowly and slowly, it changed the form of the film, the dramaturgy of the film imposed something that I mean, in a way, Renoir led to Gabin. Gabin led to Maurice Jaubert.
Sure, you can see that.
Maurice Jaubert. Suddenly there was a construction. And when I was trying to get away from it was not working. So the film dictate at the end its own shape. The thing which was very important for me is to give a lot of space to the composers, because they are always forgotten. Nobody talks about them. Even Martin Scorsese in his film, he never mentions the composer. Never. Or very rarely. I wanted, especially that I think the relationship between a lot of film composer and some French director was completely unique and totally different than what was happening there. A lot of French directors knew many things about music. They were writing songs. They had great relationship with the composers, which they were choosing, working sometimes before the film was shot. Give you a short example. Julien Duvivier, in the film he made in the 30s, in Golgotha, the first credit of the film, after the title, a film by Julien Duvivier, music by Jacques Ibert. Yeah. First card of the title, the composer. And so I wanted to pay a tribute to people I loved. I love Jaubert. And I love Jaubert, I love Cosma, I love those composers, so I wanted to salute them.
And also you have, the wonderful section on Gabin.
Yeah.
We were talking before about whether Americans really appreciate what I don't mean that he was talented or that he was great or anything, but what a huge star he was. He was like the Gable of France,
he was more than that. He was quite unique even inside the French system, because Gabin, not only, as I said, was the first proletarian hero. He gave an heroic light to the working class, but not only that. He was very influential on the making of the film. He bought the right of the book. La Bandera was bought by Gabin and Duvivier. And together they did a kind of company to make the film they wanted. He did the same thing with La Grande Illusion. He found out a book which he liked, what he wanted, and he went to see a producer, and he did Gueule d'Amour, a very good film by Grémillon. The book which was a very interesting book, was found out by Gabin. So he was instrumental. He was helping the directors. He was fighting with the directors. Even before making those, or maybe at the same time, making great masterpieces with Duvivier, Grémillon, and Renoir, Kurt Bernard, who became in this country Curtis Bernard, made a film in Germany in 1933, I think, called The Tunnel. Gabin was the star of the film. Kurt Bernard was Jew. And during shooting of the film, the Gestapo came several times. We want to question Mr. Bernard. Each time, Gabin called the French ambassador or the French consul, brought him on the set and prevented Bernard to be arrested. Bernard, in his book of memoir, said, Gabin saved my life. Jean Gabin, he did not do it once. He did 3 or 4 times. That he helped Curtis Bernard. So he did that very often. I mean, without Gabin, La Grande Illusion do not exist.
That's amazing.
And Gabin helped financing le Quai des Brumes, or just by his presence.
And was the audience, was the French audience, were they?
Yeah. I mean,
fans. Was he in the magazines? Was
yeah,
his romances
he was
written about?
His romance were there. He was a ladies' man.
Okay.
And he had, at the end of 30, he has a very hot affair with Michel Morgan.
Oh, okay.
Very, very hot. And no, I mean, they were together after Portrait Shadow. They were, people were talking about that. He was talking about, and it's, among the people I've met, it's somebody who astonished me by his language. He was talking an incredible French, very popular, full of slang, very colorful. And the screenwriter Michel Audiard, I think half of his dialogue is coming directly from Jean Gabin. Absolutely. You just had to listen to Gabin you were getting things which he had judgment. We were very, very sharp, very fast. I mean,
and was he smart enough to work with you any time?
I was rather shy when I met him, and I asked him, I said, I would like to write a screenplay to give you a story, but I'm sure you will refuse it because it's a story where you would die at the end. He said, Tavernier, you are mad. Have you seen the number of the film where I die?
Well, yes.
He started to yell at me. It was the story of an anarchist who had been a great thief in the 20s. A great, great thief. In fact, he gave the idea of Arsène Lupin. He was only stealing the rich people. And my idea was to have him at the end of his life, when he was trying to earn his living on an open-air market. And the police was always coming to him every time there was a robbery, when he was not doing anything. And then he does, before he dies, he does a last action for the Spanish anarchists. So that was my story, based on a real character called Marius Jacob. And I started writing that, thinking about Gabin, and but he died 2 months after.
Oh, too bad. That's too bad. I wanted to ask you, there's so much to ask that we would be another 3 hours, but we won't. But in terms of you worked for, 10 years in the film industry in France, but you didn't necessarily direct it during that time, or you did some shorts?
No, I learned.
You learned.
I learned. I did shorts. I think they were so childish that I decided that before I do a feature, I had to grow up and to learn a little bit about life. Because I did 2 shorts which were very bad imitation of American films. And so I thought that it was better to wait. That my wife at the time said that those films are very very childish, very immature. So
yeah, and of course, everyone here made shorts that were very sophisticated.
But I work as a press agent, and I had the luck of meeting many great directors, French, Italian, American. I met practically all the great American directors. I mean, Hawks, Ford, Raoul Walsh, all of them, Stanley Donen. I mean, you can name them all, and we worked with all of them.
But well, we just had dinner, and the depth of Bertrand's knowledge is amazing on American films. I mean, he wrote a book about American films also.
But two books.
Sorry.
Yeah.
And but I mean, we see so much about French films, but that was astounding. That I mean, he would come up with not only the name of the director, but the name of the movie, the name of the year. So it's there's tremendous knowledge there. Do you think that I'm sure it does. How does this knowledge of American films influence your own filmmaking?
When I choose a film, I'm not anymore a film buff. Philippe Noiret, when he did my first film, The Clockmaker, told me later on, he said, before we start working, I was a little bit worried that I would have deal with a film buff, somebody who will make allusion to other films. And he said, I was reassured after the first day of shooting. We never spoke of another movie. We talk only about the characters, only about the dialogue, and never, he said, in all the films I made with Bertrand, we never mention other movies. I mean, when I make a film, I make a film. I mean, my life is to work with the characters. Sometimes when I prepare it, I will use a film to give to a collaborator kind of idea. I showed to the operator and DP of Life and Nothing But, I showed them She Wore a Yellow Ribbon. I said, look how Ford is economical with the close-up. Look that John Wayne is always in the middle of a group. He's very rarely alone on the screen. We should do that with Noiret. Noiret is the character is belonging to the collectivity. He should be always rooted in a group, never the man who is alone. So sometimes I'm using that. The rest, that the film. But from the American cinema, I learn, how do you say, the sense of time and place, what I said for Becker. I learn the dramaturgy of the space. I think the Western was a very good school for me, to know where are the characters, where they are related to each other, what is the relationship between the character and the space and the landscape. That was something I love in the film of Ford or Delmer Daves of Anthony Mann. That I learned. And I learned great thing, how the best American films were really American. How was they giving me? They were giving me the sense of a country, the sense of a period, the sense of a time. I was understanding the Roosevelt, the year of Roosevelt through Grapes of Wrath, through films like that. I'm the same way I love many things in America because of the film, because of the filmmakers. The same way that in France. I fell in love with France because of the French film, not because of the politicians.
And there's a difference, though, between the French film and the American film. The American and some people
one is French, the other American.
Well, besides that, in terms of a reliance more on character, I think in French films, and you get into that a little bit in this film.
Yeah,
but you can see it. I mean, you can see that
between the European film and the American
exactly,
film, not only the French film.
Yes.
Yes, but it's not true. There are some American directors who rely totally on characters. I mean, that I would say the difference between, but I mean, general ideas are bad because they are vague. But if you want to draw a line, you said generally the American film is it's imposing things, and the European film, the doubt. It's more a cinema which leaves. I mean, it goes from Bergman to Antonioni, to the Italian director, to some British director, Michael Powell. There is one cinema of affirmation and a cinema of doubt. That would be the difference. The rest, it's true that a lot of French directors, I mean Renoir, starting by Renoir, the characters, or Pagnol, or that, the character came first. It's a character who created the screenplay, and the plot was secondary, and that I rely with that. For me, I always I always wanted to fight against what I call the tyranny of the plot. To have the impression, something I like with the film of Becker, that it's a character of the film who are writing the screenplay. It's not the screenwriter, it's the characters.
Also, things happen off screen often in European films a lot, more than in American.
I give the example of Melville, because Melville, when you were talking with him, was obsessed by being an American director. And yet, at that time, none of his films were bought by American distributors. The Doulos, it took many years for Le Doulos, for Bob Le Flambeur, for Le Deuxième Souffle to play in this country, because he was not understanding that what he was doing was the opposite of the American, just by his use of music. Where an American director, look on when Lino Ventura is running, I mean, any American director at that time or American studio would have put a lot of music on that scene and you have only the footsteps of Ventura running. That's the whole thing. And he was doing things. He was obsessed by William Wyler, and he was, who was a director vilified at the time and wrongly by the French press, by New Wave. And it was a bit absurd. But in fact, Melville was sometimes doing things that Wyler would not have done. But that was giving what was making the film of Melville very, very personal. But I was with him. I saw what he was borrowing. Somebody one day can do an essay on Melville to locate the numbers of shots, of wallpaper, taken from Odds Against Tomorrow. I mean, most of the thing, I mean, what you see through the window is something from Odds Against Tomorrow. That's a film.
I love the idea that he uses studio constantly, different parts of the studio.
That's something I learned with him, how to be very economical. Sometimes to reuse a set. I mean, that's the corridor of the studio is becoming a hospital to men in Manhattan, an American hospital, but it's nothing. I mean, it's not even a set. But Melville had a way. He could make out of a small room. He was making a set which was interesting, just with the light, that without any money. He was used to shoot without money.
And do you think that the fact that there is so much money in American films, has that changed?
I don't know. I don't know about that. I cannot comment. I can only say about Melville what I learned with him.
You talked a lot about something that you call common decency. Yeah. That you talked in another interview that I'd seen about.
But, I mean, this is one of the most important notions in politics. It was created by George Orwell, the greatest political writer, the man who was always ahead of everybody. And he told that if we want to have a democratic government, the first quality will be what he called the common decency. And I think it's a notion which so much timely. It's so important to remind that. And its definition of common decency was superb. I thought that Becker was the director of the common decency, the sense of the collectivity, the sense of the importance of the past without making the past too beautiful, the sense of belonging in a group, the sense that you can give without being given back.
And you feel that that's part of filmmaking?
I think it's part of a moral and political approach in filmmaking. I see several directors. I know 2 or 3 French philosophers, and I asked them, one of them who wrote a wonderful book about Orwell, and who is a film buff, I said, I would love you to write a book about common decency in films. And we started to make a list of films. There are several films of John Ford. A film by William Wellman, which is an example. It's a story of G.I. Joe. This is an example of that, of the sense of the collectivity, the sense that the fact that you have never one hero working for himself, but always for the benefits of the people. So it's very, very, very.
No, it's something we don't think about much.
I mean, you are not at all. No politician thinks about it.
Well,
and he said, and Orwell, which everybody should come back to the political writing of Orwell, because Orwell said this is a quality that you will find more easily in the working class than among the intellectual and among the rich people. And he said, I saw that quality in Barcelona when I was with the anarchist people. It's where I saw a good example of common decency, people fighting for the good of everybody.
I think that's in a lot of your films too. I mean, you see it.
I hope. I mean, Orwell is my god. George Orwell is somebody which I started to love very, very early. And I felt that but somebody told me that in The Electric Mist, or It All Starts Today and Life and Nothing But. I mean, Simon Less, another writer, the first guy who attacked Maoism the first one, who said that Maoism is a crime and it will be one of the worst crime of the century. He told me that Life and Nothing But was a good example. So
I think so too. Yeah.
So that's a film of common decency.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. We're going to have to stop, but thank you, Bertrand.
Okay.
And we'll be back with the next 8 hours as soon as possible.
Thanks for listening to another DGA Q&A. You can check out past episodes of The Director's Cut wherever you listen to podcasts, or on our website at dga.org/podcast. Also, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe so you won't miss an episode. And if you're enjoying the podcast, please like, share, and leave us a review. We'd love to hear your feedback. Thanks again for listening, and have a great week. This podcast is produced by the Directors Guild of America. Music is by Dan Wally.